Could piglins actually be villagers who got lost, or worse, trapped in
the Nether?
Part 1. Who are the Piglins? Let's start with the basics. Piglins are a Nether exclusive mob that was introduced in Minecraft 1.16, otherwise known as the Nether update. Now, they're not exactly friendly. In fact, they'll attack you on sight, unless of course you're wearing at least one piece of golden armor. Apparently they've got some fashion standards. No gold, no mercy. Now, these piglins live in massive fortress-like structures that we call bastions. They're packed with treasures, blackstone, lava hazards, and a weirdly complex layout that kinda suggests that the piglins most likely have architects who probably learned from and were inspired by only the greatest builds within the Minecraft universe, otherwise known as the subscribe button. Now, they don't just live there in these bastions, they also have this whole societal system going on. There are the regular piglins, the piglin brutes, and even baby piglins. It's not chaos, it's a society. Alright, but what really sets them apart from your average hostile mob, especially within the Nether, is that the piglins trade. Okay, fine, technically they barter, but you just toss them a golden ingot and they give you a random item in return. It's kind of like trick-or-treating, but with higher stakes and slightly more... that behaviour? It's rare. Most mobs in Minecraft don't even know how to open a door, let alone engage in complex commerce. But piglins, they've got a whole economic system going on based on gold. That already puts them in a very exclusive club of intelligent mobs within the Minecraft world that have some human-like behaviour. The only other member of this highly exclusive club, well, that would be the villagers. And that's where this gets interesting. Part 2. The piglins versus the villagers. Now let's talk about the villagers. You definitely know who they are. They're the big-nosed greedy creatures of the Minecraft overworld. You trade with them, you trap them in 1x1 dirt boxes, you steal their crops, you enslave them for your own selfish desires. You know, honestly, thinking about that, you're probably the villain in their story. But that's for another day, alright? Because one thing that you might not have noticed from all of that is that the piglins and the villagers, well, they have a lot in common. Like, suspiciously a lot. For starters, both mobs live in structured communities. Villagers have peaceful little villages with farms and bells and job blocks, whilst the piglins, well, they've got the bastions. Massive, hostile fortresses made of blackstone and gold. Different vibes, but same concept. Homes, loot, and a social order. And then there's trading. Villagers use emeralds, piglins prefer gold. But the idea is kind of the same. They both want rare world resources in exchange for some stuff that they can make. That's not typical mob behaviour. You don't see creepers asking for gunpowder before they blow up, but these guys do. Now, about roles. Villagers have defined jobs. Farmers, librarians, clerics, weaponsmiths. They even change their outfits based on what they do. Now, on the other hand, piglins don't have job titles, but you can still tell that there's structure within their roles. Regular piglins hang out, trade, and patrol. Baby piglins just hang around and act cute. And as for the piglin brutes, well, they don't trade. They simply defend and fight off anyone who dares to enter their beloved bastion. Even physically, they're not so different. Both walk upright, both have giant heads. Villagers have huge noses, it's kind of their whole brand, whilst piglins have prominent snouts and these floppy, slightly cursed ears. They're basically nether villagers with some sort of pig filter, if you think about it. And then there's communication. Neither species speaks a real language as such, but they both grunt, hum, and make expressive noises that somehow still get the point across. They're like two dialects of mob mumble. And then this comparison gets really weird when we bring into the fact of zombification. Villagers become zombie villagers when they're infected by other zombies. Piglins turned into zombified piglins when they enter the overworld. Both of these transformations are triggered by exposure to environments that they weren't meant for. That doesn't seem like just a coincidence. It feels like a shared biological vulnerability. It's like they were cut from the same DNA and just evolved in different places. And finally, both of these mobs are neutral under the right conditions. Villagers are passive unless there's a raid or a threat. And piglins, well, they won't attack you if you're wearing gold. Now, sure, you can open a chest near them and, yeah, that's rude and don't take it personally, but if you just follow their social rules, they'll leave you alone, or even barter with you. So to recap, there's a lot of overlap between these two, more than you'd reasonably expect between a humble farmer and a gold-hoarding nether beast. Is there a story behind this? Part 3. The Theory. A long time ago, way before you first spawned into the world, maybe even before the like button was a thing, a group of villagers made a discovery. A portal. Whether they'd stumbled across it or built it themselves, they opened a gateway to the Nether. Maybe they were explorers looking for new lands. Maybe they were fleeing some ancient disaster. Or maybe they were drawn in by something darker. Something they couldn't understand. Whatever the reason, they crossed over. And these villagers never came back. Cut off from the overworld, these villagers were trapped in one of the harshest environments imaginable. There's lava everywhere. Monsters were around every corner. There was no sunlight. There were no crops. There was no hope. Just endless heat, constant danger, and gold for some reason. To survive, they had to adapt, and over generations, they began to change. Physically, mentally, culturally. They became more aggressive, more territorial. It was the only way to stay alive. And gold, well, that became sacred. It reminded them of their past life, and it could be used for defense. We know that piglins don't attack you if you're wearing it. What if that was just part of their own survival ritual? And that's just how they lived on to this day. Their once quiet villages were forced to transform. The cozy wooden huts and crop fields wouldn't stand a chance within the Nether. And so in their place, massive blackstone fortresses rose up. The Bastions. Twisted, crumbling, and full of gold. But still strangely organised. Still built. Still planned. The language changed. The structure had warped. But the instinct to barter, to exchange, well, that somehow remained. It's like a distant echo of their past life, now buried under lava and time. And the result? The piglins we know today. Part 4. Evidence. So is there any actual evidence for this theory of shared origins? Or are we just stacking lore-flavoured blocks and hoping it doesn't fall over? 1. Structures. Villagers live in neatly organised villages. Houses, farms, workstations. It's peaceful, it's safe, it's functional. Piglins. Their bastions are different. Ruined, cracked, dangerous. But here's the thing. They're both still architecturally complex. And they're both meeting the survival needs of the beings that are inhabiting them. These are the only two intelligent beings that inhabit any sort of structure. 2. Social hierarchies. Both have societal structures. They both have dedicated guards. They both have work to do. They both have children to look after. It's the same ideas, just in different skins. 3. Trading behaviour. Trading is rare in Minecraft. Most mobs, well, they'd rather fight you than bargain. But villagers and piglins, well, they both actively engage in complex item exchanges. Emeralds for books, gold for obsidian. It's a booming economy for them both. And more than that, they know what they want. That kind of behaviour suggests some level of intelligence, and possibly shared roots, given that they're the only creatures with this level of intellect to actually trade like this. 4. Communication. Neither mob uses a real language, but both are expressive. Grunts, hums, head tilts. We don't fully understand it, but they do. It's not just random noise, it's their language. And both systems are functional, they can communicate with each other. That doesn't seem just like game design, it seems like some sort of cultural carryover. Maybe it has some sort of biological element to it. Speaking of biological element, 5. Zombification. Now this is the big one. Villagers can turn into zombie villagers when they're infected. Piglins can also turn into zombified piglins when they leave the nether. Both undergo transformations triggered by an environmental trauma. It's a different trigger, sure, but it's the same outcome. It feels like a shared biological weakness. Perhaps that's because they were once the same species, and they share the same zombie DNA. 6. Neutrality and aggression. Villagers, totally chill. Well, until the raid shows up. Piglins, also totally chill, as long as you're wearing gold and not looting their stuff. Both have rules of engagement. They're not mindless. They assess, and then they react. That's social intelligence. That's memory. That's just got to be linked, right? And so these 6 ideas point to one thing. The villagers and the piglins are connected. They're two sides of the same golden coin. Part 5. The problems. Alright, let's not get too carried away. Every good theory needs to face the facts, even if those facts hurt a little and contradict our theory. So here are the problems. First off, language. Piglins grunt, snort and occasionally scream. Villagers, they hum, they ha, and occasionally stare into your soul. These are totally different sounds and ways of communicating. There's very little overlap here. There are no shared phrases. Like, even the way that they're making their sounds to communicate, well, they're so different that there might not even be a shared origin in that. If these mobs did come from the same origin, you would expect something to survive linguistically, but it hasn't. Then there's the behaviour. Villagers are always peaceful. They're passive creatures. They'll farm potatoes all day every day unless you start the raids. Piglins on the other hand, nah, they're aggressive, they're territorial and they're ready to throw hands the second you open the wrong chest. That's not a small personality shift. That's a full-on cultural overhaul. It's not something you would expect if they shared the same peaceful genetics. Also, let's address the obvious. One's a pig, one's a person, like literally. Villagers are bipedal humans with jobs. Piglins are pig-faced warriors who squeal when they fight. That's not just a different species, that's a whole different genus. And then there's this whole gold versus emerald thing. Villagers are obsessed with emeralds. Piglins, it's gold or nothing. No crossover, no trade compatibility, different economic systems, different priorities. Now, sure, they both like their rare minerals, but these minerals just happen to be the shiniest objects in their respective worlds. So maybe it has nothing to do with the fact that they're sharing genetics, more just to do with the fact that they like shiny things. They live in completely different dimensions. And here's the kicker. They have zero natural interaction. Villagers don't go to their nether, piglins don't visit villages. Now, sure, there are the ruined portals, but those don't link to anything in the nether. It's almost as if they were never truly activated, abandoned, and then just left to rot. So maybe there never was any travel between the nether and the overworld from the villagers. And all that evidence that we had before, well, it could have nothing to do with the fact that the villagers and the piglins have anything in common in terms of their history. It could literally just be a fact of convergent evolution. whereby they both developed similar traits because they were evolutionarily advantaged, and they allowed these different species to develop within their respective worlds. Oh, and let's not forget Mojang. They've never confirmed any connection between the two. There's no real official law. So yeah, all of this might just be coincidence. The evidence might be false. The law and the stories and the theories that we came up with, they might just be wrong. This could all just be a result of game design convenience. A few reused mechanics that are dressed in slightly different skins. But still, when you put it all together, the structures, the trading, the zombification, the weird cultural overlaps, the languages, the way that they physically are, it just feels a little too suspicious to ignore. There must be something linking these two. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that they're both blocky creatures? I mean, Minecraft is quite blocky, I guess. Wait, hold on a second. Why is that? Why is Minecraft made entirely of blocks? It's a bit weird, isn't it? Well, consider watching this video, because it's a much deeper story than you would imagine.